Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right. This week, in honor of Mike Dell, I've picked a Marvel comic.
I don't know if you really honored me with this selection.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Okay, I'll tell everybody what we're going to do this week. Crystar, Crystal Warrior, number 3.
Well, Mike, I believe the official title is The Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior.
That's true.
Issue 3, 1983, because I tried to look it up as just Crystar. No, it's The Saga of Crystar.
That's true, and it is a saga. It is a saga.
Oh, it's a saga, all right. Now, Mike, you said, again, this is 1983, and you said, hey there, Mike Dell. That's you talking to me. You said, hey there, Mike Dell. Next week, we're going to do Crystar. And I thought you were just making this up.
Really?
I had no concept of Crystar whatsoever. When I saw what he looked like, maybe a slight glimmer of recognition.
Okay.
But really not much there at all.
Wow.
So yeah, you seem to be very excited to pick Crystar for the world. So please explain your excitement about Crystar.
Well, I think the excitement around Crystar, number one, starts with the fact that most of the covers were drawn by my main man, Michael Golden. Okay?
Well, Michael, the covers, Bob Larkin did issue 1.
Yeah.
Dave Simons did issue 2. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
And then Michael Golden did the covers for issues 3 through 11, because there's only 11 issues.
Yes, true.
Issues. Now, this was not a limited series. This was an ongoing series that only lasted 11 issues. Because I think when I first read about it, I'm like, oh, that's odd that they did an 11-issue limited series. That's pretty weird. Usually it's 12, if you get 12.
Yeah.
But no. This was an ongoing series, and they just took the axe to it after 11. So.
Yes, but to be fair, it was bi-monthly, so technically it lasted 22 months.
Oh.
So
drag out the misery.
Yeah.
Just drag.
Again, this cover of number 3 is not the greatest, but if you jump to number 4, it's a beautiful painted cover by Michael Golden.
See, I actually don't think those are that great. Because he painted it 4, 5, 6, and 7 maybe. And I don't know, there's usually like Nightcrawler appears in one of the issues, and it's just him, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's done better work in terms of the painting and the covers. I'm not a huge fan. But I was a big fan of issue 8 that he drew. It wasn't
okay.
Painted. And I think the cover for issue 10 was also really strong.
Yes.
Or maybe 9 with the dragons on it and the tilted sideways.
Right. They almost look like animation cells, yes.
Yeah, they're very good. But yeah, the painted ones, I'm not crazy about them. Because it's just one person on the cover and then a whole bunch of background.
Sure, but he's experimenting. He is an artist. He's experimenting, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So.
But this cover here we'll be discussing later. It's drawn.
Yes. Yeah. It is the most regular of his covers. It's the most typical, I guess you could say.
And we've talked about this before when we talked about Michael Golden, but one of the reasons he liked to do covers was because the artist would get the cover back. They would.
Okay.
Because if you draw the interiors of an issue, you would only get maybe 2 or 3 pages back.
Interesting.
They divvied them up or whatever. But if you drew the cover, you got the cover back, and then you could sell it or whatever, So
yes.
That's why he liked to do covers. So.
Wow, okay. And he's definitely a, savvy businessman. I've been to many comic conventions and seen him there, and he knows how to sell his work, yeah. But anyway, I'm not sure what research you did.
I did some research.
Okay, because there were also Crystar Crystal Warrior toys, and I believe I might have had 1 or 2 when I was a kid, and I thought they were awesome. So
well, they were made by a company called Remco.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Remco?
I think so.
Well, I don't. That doesn't sound very confident. I was not familiar with Remco, so I looked them up, and it turns out I was familiar with Remco. I just did not realize it. But they started back in the 1940s.
See, and, I did know them.
I think they had some gimmick. Every boy wants a Remco toy, and the girls do too. I think that was their tagline.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. Very catchy. So then in the 70s they did the Incredible Hulk Instant Muscles. Did you have these?
I don't know.
I did have these. They were like these little green kind of like shoulder pads for football players. I know you don't understand what that reference means.
I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Football. But they were like inflatable, so you pumped air in them, and you got big muscles, and then you put like a shirt over top of it, and you look like you're a jack.
I think I remember these. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I had those when I was like 3 and 4 years old. It was awesome. Yeah, I remember that. And then they did the Universal Monsters in like 1980, 81. Like Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein.
Oh, I had those. And Creature from the Black Lagoon. They all glowed in the dark, right?
I think some of them did. Yeah, maybe all of them. I don't know, but I remember I had like a little container, like a case you carried them in, and it was like a house or something too. And what's the other guy? The fish guy.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yes, yeah. I had all of them. I'm looking at them now. I had all of them except Phantom of the Opera and the Mummy, but I had the other 4. Wow.
Yeah, Wolfman was my boy. I loved Wolfman. In fact, Michael, this all ties together because when I was about 4 or 5 years old for Halloween one year, I went as the Wolfman, and underneath my shirt, I wore my Hulk Instant Muscles.
Wow. Well, I'll have you know that I went out for Halloween as Dracula. But since I have blonde hair, I had to add a black widow's peak in front of my blonde hair. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
They also made the Dukes of Hazzard action figures. Sergeant Rock, DC property, Sergeant Rock. And then the Karate Kid action figures as well.
Really?
How about that? The Crystal Warrior toys were released in late 1982, and the comic book came out in the spring of 1983. But get this, Michael. Marvel created these characters and everything. They licensed the idea to Remco, which is the old switcheroo from what usually happens in these situations.
Yes, it is. And I only learned that a couple years ago, yes.
Yeah, usually it's the toy company that comes up with the idea, and then they license it to Marvel to make the comics. Here, it was Marvel doing everything. And they said, hey, all right, here you go. So,
right.
Yeah, a little switcheroo. That's about it. The toys were not a success. There were 7 action figures. And a couple, I think they had some big dragons, where their vehicles were basically dragons or something.
Okay.
And maybe 1 playset or something. But 7 figures. Did you have Crystar, the Crystal Warrior?
I think it's one of those things where I think I had Crystar, but I don't have them anymore, so I'm not sure. But I know I had one of them. I just don't know which one.
Because they had Crystar, they had, we'll get into the backstory about these people.
Sure.
They had 2 of his buddies, like an evil wizard, 2 molten dudes. Yeah, but whatever.
Right.
But the figures, like Crystar, he was made so he looked kind of like crystal. You could kind of see through him, in a way. And he was bluish.
Well, and I should step in and say I have an obsession with see-through plastic toys, okay?
Well, this is a little bit more than I need to know if you have an obsession with see-through plastic toys.
Yes, it's very specific, I know.
This conversation could go in a very weird way, but all right.
No, but I mean, for some reason, when I was a kid, it was just one of those things where if you made a toy that was see-through plastic, I would buy it. I just loved it. I don't know why.
I can't name another toy that was see-through plastic. I don't.
There was toys that had aspects of them that were see-through plastic. Maybe the leg would be bionic or something like that, or see-through, or made of glass.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I can't think of any either. So yeah, that's the toy line was a failure. Then they pitched them over to Europe or something. They were trying to sell them in Europe under a different name, maybe, or something. But I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't. Crystar was not a huge success.
Oh, that's too bad.
So they had to shut the doors on it there. But here's another interesting note. I mentioned that I loved the cover of issue 8 of Crystar.
Okay, number 8.
Would you like to look at that now?
Yeah, I'll jump ahead. Let me see.
All the kids at home can play along. It's a drawn picture by Michael Golden, and Crystar is standing on top of a horned skull with a damsel clinging to his leg. Do you recognize that horned skull, Michael?
Well, no, I don't, but I do know the story that it was stolen by, was it Danzig?
Yes, Glenn Danzig.
Yes.
Of the Misfits and Danzig fame. The heavy metal rocker guy there. And he was a big fan of Michael Golden. And I guess maybe Crystar. I mean, he was 30 at the time he did this. So he was reading Crystar. He must have been a big fan of Crystar.
Hey, I'm 45 and I'm reading Crystar anyway.
But he was enamored with that skull on the cover there. So he ripped it off. He just traced it and then used it as his logo. And it's a very iconic logo in the history of heavy metal rock and roll. So when you think of Danzig, most people would picture that horned skull. That was from the cover of issue 8 of Crystar, Crystal Warrior.
Isn't that cool?
Well, it's interesting because
it's
a fella,
yeah.
Because I read an article, some fella met Danzig at a convention or something, and he said, "Hey, you're a big comic book fan, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am, but probably nothing you read." And this guy says, "Oh yeah, well like what?" And he goes, "That's stuff from the '50s." And so this guy like rattled off some '50s creators, and Danzig's like, "No shit." And so they're all chatting about comic books and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, I know why. You know how I could tell you like comic books?" And he says, "How?" He goes, "Because you stole the skull off of Crystar issue 8.
Really?
and Danzig laughed, and he said, "Yeah, Michael Golden was one of his favorite artists." And he said, "Well, I didn't really steal it. I had to finish it." And that is true. He had to like finish the one horn, you know, because
sure.
But he did. He admits to just swiping it off the cover and using it. And I guess someone asked Michael Golden about this as well, if he was upset. And he said, "Well, you know, it's not my work because that was work for hire for Marvel."
Okay.
So he says, like, he has no claim to it, but he's like, I have no idea why Marvel never sued the hell out of him.
Sure, right.
Because Danzig made a shit ton of money off of that skull.
Right.
And I guess Marvel just never cared. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I mean, he's a great designer, Michael Golden, I think. He's a great artist, so it's understandable.
Yeah, it's a great logo for a rock band like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so who exactly is this Crystar fella? Yeah, let's get into this.
As someone who's read the entire series before, I can just say that basically, and the issue that I picked, number 3, is probably the weirdest one to start with because the first 2 issues take place in this fantasy world called, well, I think it's the city is called Galax, and it's based.
Okay. The planet is called Crystalium.
Okay. Crystalium, and the city is called Galax, right, or the kingdom?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically like this sort of, Conan's. It's this vaguely fantasy, Shakespearean type world where we have 2 brothers. What it is I think there was their father was the ruler, but he died, and so there's 2 brothers.
Yes. Well, there was a demon lord who sent his demons to conquer the planet Crystalium. And the king of Crystalium led the fight against the demon lord during what was known as the Chaos War.
Right.
But the king was murdered during the war. So then the wizard Ogiode, who I believe we read about in this issue, Ogiode, he used something called the Prism Crystal to drive away the demon lord. But the demon lord vowed vengeance. So then, like, the 2 brothers that you mentioned, or the 2 princes, of the deceased father there, the 2 sons. One was named Crystar, and one was named Moltar.
What a coincidence!
Now, this is like what you always talk about, how
Yep.
someone has a power or something, and then they get it later because...
So someone has a motif or a name, and then magically they get those exact powers later on, yes.
Yes. It would have been better if Crystar got the powers of molten lava, and Moltar became crystal. But no. They just got lucky.
Right.
Anyway, so I guess that wizard fella, he said, hey, or maybe someone else is involved in this too, like someone who was kind of like their mentor or something, who was kind of trying to shepherd them to the right way to take after their father. He said, hey, you got to choose your path in life. Do you want to be a good fella or a bad fella? And Crystar, of course, says, hey, I want to be a good fella. So he says, all right, Crystar, you're the best. And then Moltar, what about you? And he's like, nah, I want to go hang out with that Demon Lord. He gets all the ladies. I want to go with Demon Lord. So Moltar turns bad, and he goes on the side of evil. And then some evil wizard named Zardeth.
Yes.
Zardeth. He does some mystical, magical bullshit, and Moltar turns into like living molten lava.
Right.
And
Well, see, but the part you missed is that Crystar and Moltar get into a fight, and Moltar basically murders Crystar, and you think he's dead, and it's weird because then Moltar doesn't know what to do, so he basically
so that's why he turns evil.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
so they're like roughhousing.
Yeah, they basically got into a big argument, and then Moltar ended up stabbing him. And then he was, it was exactly like a Shakespeare thing where people saw him, but he kind of like denied it. And then the girl comes in, what's her name? I don't remember her name.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either.
But she comes in, and you're kind of thinking, oh no, she must feel sorry for Crystar, but she doesn't. She ends up siding with Moltar to kind of like basically ride his coattails, right? Because now he's all powerful. And so
that girl was like with Crystar, right? They were
right.
like an item. But then when she said, "Oh, you just stabbed him," all right, well, you're tougher. I'll go with you.
Exactly.
She just leaves Crystar.
Right, and she kind of like walks past the dead body and just leaves him. But then what happens is they go back and the dead body's gone. And it turns out that all Crystar's buddies have taken Crystar to like this secret chamber. And the wizard Ogiode shows up and he has a way to revive him. But the only way to do it is to put him through this doorway that ends up...
crystal. The prism crystal.
Yeah. And turns him into a crystal being. And then at the same time, Moltar... what's his name? The other wizard. What's his name? Zardeth, who only has one eye. He ends up turning Moltar and all of his buddies into like magma lava people. Yeah. And that's it. So then Crystar comes out of the, what did you call it? The doorway?
The prism crystal.
The prism crystal, and yeah, he's all crystal. And then all of his friends kind of go through the same process, and then this big battle starts.
Yeah, I think his friends went through the process too, because when they found out that the evil dudes are all molten lava, they said, "Hey,
you can't fight alone."
Humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to fight them as crystal dudes.
Right.
So they all turned crystal. And then the wizard also had a daughter who we meet in this issue. I think her name is Aika or something like that. I don't know. We'll get to it later.
Yes.
But he doesn't change her into crystal so she can fight. He's doing experiments, and he volunteers his daughter to like be turned into crystal so he can study how the process works or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to save another guy who got stabbed, apparently.
Right.
It's all very confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just skimming through the second issue now, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I didn't read any of this. I was just going off of what I read on, various resources. But, so that's basically the premise. You have two brothers who are vying for the throne of their kingdom. One's good, one's evil, and they're fighting. So
right. And then basically right at the end of number 2, just as Aika is coming out of the prism crystal thing, she comes out and she's like, oh, she feels so strange. Then Crystar goes in to kind of like help her, and when he helps her, they kind of vanish, and no one knows where they went. And then sure enough, at the beginning of number 3, we find out, right?
Yeah, and that's why you picked this issue 3, because it guest stars Doctor Strange.
Right. And I wanted to have a nice, I want to ease the listeners into the saga of Crystar because it has Doctor Strange. I thought this would be a perfect issue for that. So. And
I mentioned earlier, I think in issue 6 or something, Nightcrawler shows up. And then I believe in, issue maybe 11, is it Alpha Flight that pops in there?
Yes. Number, is it 11? Let me see.
It's 10 or 11.
Yeah, it's Alpha Flight. You're right.
Yeah, so how about that? We mentioned the artist here. I don't know if we mentioned it. Is Ron Frenz doing the interiors. Michael Golden did the cover. But Ron Frenz... Have we ever talked about Ron Frenz on the show?
I don't... I'll check him. I'll double check one second.
I know you've probably talked about him a lot on the Spider-Cast.
Yeah, this is the first time here.
Yeah, see, some of this stuff sounded familiar. But he was born in Pittsburgh in 1960.
Whoa, get out of
Pittsburgh,
town.
PA, my neck of the woods. Good old Pittsburgh boy. He did 22 issues of Amazing Spider-Man between 1984 and 1986. He was paired with Tom DeFalco, and during that run, they co-created Silver Sable. How about that?
Yeah.
But I guess Ron Frenz took over Spider-Man because at the time, John Romita Jr. was supposed to draw it, right? But then they used him on X-Men, and he went over to X-Men, and then he was supposed to come back and do Spider-Man and X-Men together. But when John Romita showed up, he said, hey, this Ron Frenz fella, he's doing a good job. Just let him have it. So Ron Frenz is very grateful to John Romita Jr. for letting him stay.
Nice.
How about that? But then Jim Owsley, who we talked about, he had enough of that Ron Frenz and Tom DeFalco, and he took them off the book because he was the editor for the Spider titles at the time, right? And he sent them over to do Thor.
Right.
And
very controversial move, yes.
Yeah, because people liked DeFalco and Frenz on Spider-Man?
Right. Very popular run, yes.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
I read one quote from Owsley where he said Frenz was very obsessive almost about Spider-Man.
I can imagine, yeah.
And I think it kind of annoyed Owsley or something. I don't know. But,
well, whatever.
So Frenz did 67 issues between 1987 and 1993 of Thor. That's quite the run. And during that run, he co-created Thunderstrike.
Right.
Tell the kids who Thunderstrike is.
Well, from what I remember, he was a teenager that ended up getting the powers of Thor and kind of taking over for him for a while. And then I think he got his own series, right? Yeah, Eric. And then he was right. And then he was concurrent with Thor for a while, right?
Yeah, if you remember back in the day there, if you can imagine like a Thor with like a beard and a ponytail, you're probably thinking of Thunderstrike. And then he carried like a mace. Not really a hammer, but like a mace.
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with them, but it just seemed like a redundant character, you know?
Yeah, he got his own series, like you mentioned, in 1993, and Ron Frenz drew the first 24 issues of that.
Mm-hmm.
So he liked the Thunderstrike. And then Ron Frenz went to DC in 1995.
And he did?
Yeah, he started drawing Superman.
That's right.
Yeah. So how was the Superman run, Michael?
I mean, you know, I kind of stopped buying Superman around that time, but, you know, he was suited to the genre. He was... You know, if you're going to get someone to draw Superman, you might as well get Ron Frenz. He was perfect for it. I believe he also was there. He designed the... Do you remember the Electric Superman era?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. He designed that costume. So,
right.
Yeah, the thing about, you know, Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz, they're not innovative. They're not out to change the world, but they make good old-fashioned superhero comics, you know?
Yeah,
so if that's what you like, yeah.
That's all you can ask for. This Ron Frenz fellow, though, he did the art, but the writing here is by Jo Duffy. Jo Duffy.
Yes.
We've talked about Jo Duffy before. So if you want to hear a detailed description of Jo Duffy and her career, go back to our Power Man and Iron Fist issue that we did. I believe it was episode 19 of Flea Market Fantasy.
And then didn't she also do Star Wars later on?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds right. But she wrote all 11 issues. Ron Frenz only drew this issue. This was it for Crystar.
Really? Oh, that's right, because the first two were Brett Blevins.
First two were Brett Blevins, and then issues 4 through 11. Do you know who that was?
I'm going to guess, because I just looked at it, but I'm not going to look back. I can't remember. Who was it?
Ricardo Villamonte.
Okay.
Do you know who that guy is?
Nope. Do you?
Okay. No.
Okay.
Ricardo Villamonte. He did issues 4 through 11.
Okay, no, I don't know him.
So this is the only Ron Frenz, Jo Duffy collaboration. But you can tell they had high hopes for this series when you have 3 artists and 11 issues.
Yeah. Well, you mean in 22 months. But anyway.
Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe that's why they had trouble keeping artists, because the spread out.
The erratic schedule. Yeah. Now, are we going to talk about Danny Bulandi?
Sure, if you want to. I don't know who that is. But yeah.
It's funny because I don't know if you know this, Mike Dell, but I have very poor short-term memory. Okay, like that movie Memento, and I was reading this issue and looking at the art, and I was marveling at how good the inking was. And I was like, wow, this inking is so good. Who's this Danny?
The inking is pretty good.
Yeah. Who's this Danny Bulandi fellow? Like, I've never heard of him before. Well, of course I have, because he inked the first 6 issues of Quasar, my favorite comic from the 80s. How could I forget that? Anyway, it's embarrassing.
How could you forget that?
So, yeah. He's a good inker.
It's all right. Let's look at the cover here. Saga of Crystar. Crystar.
Yes. Hold on, I gotta click back. I was already jumping ahead because I was so excited. Let me just jump back here. Hold on a sec. Got pop-ups galore. Just a minute. Okay. Here we go. So we got the classic Marvel ribbon across the top, Marvel Comics Group. Then we have this awesome...
Notice, Michael, there's no corner box, though.
That's a good point. In fact, I don't think any of them had it. Now that I think about it.
I don't know. I did notice, like, that one cover I liked of Michael Golden. I think it was issue 9, where it's like tilted, like the ship and everything. Like they shrunk down the title and put it over in the right corner, kind of. So
you know what? Okay.
The art.
Well, I'll just say number 2 has a corner box, so I think the rest of them do. But yeah, jumping ahead to number 8. Oh, no, which one did you say you liked?
I think 9 maybe.
9. 9 is the one where they're on the boat. Yes, you're right. The logo is shrunken to the
over. That was weird.
To make room for this awesome art. And then there's a corner box there. So
okay. Yeah, so I don't know why. Do you think they left? Yeah, they left it off just so.
I don't know. It's a good question. Because the interesting thing is the logo is still off center to make room for it, but they just didn't add it. Yeah, that's weird.
Guess no one gave a damn about Crystar. How do you feel about the M for Marvel, like the 60 cents in issue 3?
I actually like that. I love that.
Yeah, it's a little interesting, huh? Like, how long did they do that?
I'm going to guess a couple years, because as far as I remember, that was the direct sales books had the M and the newsstand books didn't. As far as I know, that's what it meant.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, we have Saga, the Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior, and the rest of the letters are in regular kind of font, but Crystar is all like crystal lettering.
Yes.
I love it. It's so cool. And then it's like 3D effect, and then below it is Crystal Warrior.
Blue, like a blue background, yellow letters.
Right. And then we have this cover, and on the cover is, in the middle is Doctor Strange, and he's floating. And in front of him are Crystar, and what's the girl's name again?
I don't know. We'll find out. I think
we'll find
Ica
out.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that's Ica, right. And they're both floating, and Crystar is kind of just has his arms to his side, and Ica is kind of making this surprised expression on her face. And then behind them is all this like mystical green energy, floating spirits, and we see the face of the wizard Obadode, or whatever his name is.
Yeah. And Zargeth is on the right there.
Yeah, the evil one. And at the bottom, actually, I didn't even notice this before, but at the bottom is all these, like the magma people, the evil guys. Yeah, they're all at the bottom. So, and then at the top, you see two other faces. That's obviously, I don't know what character that is, but there's a woman on the left and someone else on the right who's obscured by the logo.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
I don't know who those would be. And you can tell they're in the house of Doctor Strange, because they got that fancy window behind them too.
Right. Solid.
What do they call it? The Sanctums?
The Sanctum Sanctorium or whatever.
Yeah, there it is. It's right there in the title. In the Sanctum Sanctorium of Doctor Strange.
Right. Sanctorum. So yeah, so now we crack this sucker open. Stan Lee presents the Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior. And we have this nice splash page, and it's Crystar with Ica draping off of his chest, like the classic, barbarian type thing where the woman is just hanging off the man. It's great. And then we see these kind of like demons floating on the right, and at the bottom it says, in the Sanctum Sanctorum of Doctor Strange, right? Because they're saying Crystar is in there. So basically, they appear in Crystar or Doctor Strange's library, and they've never been in a library. Not this kind of library anyway. So they're like looking around. Again, they're from like a kind of medieval, not medieval, but kind of a prehistoric kind of dimension where everything's like, prehistoric Earth. And so they're looking around, and Crystar's like, wow, I've never seen this much paper before. Like, these books must be precious or whatever. Yeah, and what's that?
He's a big fan of paper and wood.
Right. And so then he picks up this one thing carved out of gem, and he's like, I don't quite know what gem it's been carved of or what kind of dragon it represents, but at least it's made of stone. That's familiar, natural. And then all of a sudden,
because he was also marveling at the wooden chair.
Right. So I guess there's not that much, not that many trees on Galax, in the city of Galax, on the planet Crystalium. So then all of a sudden the doorway opens, and who comes in but Wong, Doctor Strange's manservant, right?
Wong. Now, Michael, our buddy Kevin Jank told me something. He said that in those new Doctor Strange movies, Wong was the Sorcerer Supreme when Doctor Strange was snapped out of reality or whatever.
Yeah, and they've kept that up, and it's kind of just one of the... Well, it's not. It's just kind of an annoying detail. Like, why do that, right?
You got a perfect opportunity to anoint Brother Voodoo. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring Brother Voodoo into the Marvel Universe.
Right.
Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme. What is going on?
Right. Yeah, it's just kind of pointless, but what are you going to do?
Because then he showed up in that Shang-Chi movie, and he's like doing cage fights with Abomination as the Sorcerer Supreme? What the hell? Anyway.
Well, you know what it is 5 years from now, there'll be a Wong TV show. That's what they're doing. They're always trying to spin off the next character, right?
Hey, by the way, did you see those that She-Hulk trailer?
Yes.
Egad, right?
What do you mean?
Like the special effects. Holy hell, terrible.
I was like, when I complained about that, everyone attacked me on the internet. But now everyone's joining in. I started the trend, though.
Oh, see, I didn't even know
anyway.
I didn't even know that.
But anyway, we should jump back. We don't want our listeners to lose interest in this episode. So
yeah, because you can't divert from Crystar.
No, never. People are gonna.
This is very important.
All of our Crystar fans have been waiting for this one. Okay, so anyway, Wong he drops like his tray of drinks. He's all shocked. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how these guys got in there. But then all of a sudden, another guest shows up, and who is it but Doctor Strange? It's a very cool shot. Doctor Strange appears in like the doorway, and there's all this
I like the smoke coming out
right
underneath him and stuff. Yeah,
right. And basically, Doctor Strange is annoyed, right? He's like, you're in my home. So he's like, my home is warded about with seals, subtle and unbreakable. So basically, he's like, how the heck did you get in here? And Ica is like, well, it has to do with my daddy's magic, but I don't really know what he did. And so then we cut back to Crystalium, and we have the wizard Ogiode. What is it? Ogiode? Yeah, Ogiode.
Ogiode, yeah.
Ogiode, who's the one that sent them there, and he's being yelled at by Ica's father. And
then that's her dad? That guy?
Yes.
Okay, because is that the guy with the eye patch? Or no, the other guy with the eye patch is down below.
The other guy has an eye patch, yeah.
Okay, because that guy with the eye patch, he took out the eye of Zardeth.
Yes.
The wizard. And then Zardeth took his eye in vengeance.
Right, that was number 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. so then one of the other guys is injured in bed, and he's like laying there, and we see the crystal prism kind of floating in the air, and they're all arguing. And then Ogiode is trying to figure out. Like, he's basically arguing back with them. But he's like, okay, well, you know what? What does he do here? He shrinks his prism back down. He puts it in his coat because that's where he keeps it, right?
Yes.
And then he transports them all to the Sanctum Sanctorium.
Yeah, because they're trying to heal this other crystal warrior who was injured.
Right.
And for some reason, he needs to get Ica back because she's instrumental to his research or something. So they have to. Right. So they've tracked. He's used his magic to track Ica where she went. So they're teleporting to wherever she went.
Right. So they appear, and now all of a sudden they're standing in the room as well. And then of course Wong drops his tray of drinks again. Yeah. And so now they're standing there, and so then what's his name? Doctor Strange is like, well, clearly these are the wizard and other crystal warriors that Crystar and Ica spoke of. Under the circumstances, I think we can excuse the unorthodox arrival. So now Doctor Strange is going to relax a little bit. Well, see, Wong, again, this is not the Wong from the MCU. This is like a completely different type of character, right? But anyway, so then we cut over to, what's this guy's name? Moltar?
Yeah, that's his brother.
Yeah, to Moltar's, like, domain. And it's like a hellish kind of like domain where he's like sitting on this stone throne, and what's the woman's name? I don't know his name, but she's kind of like
I'm guessing sitting. That's the lady who went with them instead of staying with Crystar, right?
Yes. I just don't remember her name, but she's kind of like sitting beside him, and all of his goons are kind of behind him watching, and the wizard Zardeth is like watching what's happening with Crystar in these like green flames, right? So that's how he.
How about that wizard's hat?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Like,
I like it.
It's like Kid and Play's haircut. Remember that?
Yeah, you're right.
And but it's a hat, and it's like a mask hat because it covers up half his face. I guess that eye that got ripped out, and then but it's a flat top hat deal. It's weird,
right? But so then Moltar is like, he's like, I'm gonna go there and fight Crystar. Follow me. And then Zardeth and the woman are like, follow? No, he mustn't go. How about instead we send all of his goons? So instead they send his goons, and the goons go through the fire to follow Crystar into Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum.
And these goons are just like monsters of living molten lava. Like
yeah, I think weren't they I think they were converted too. I think there were goons that were converted. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but I think they were humans.
Like that's what they look like now. They're
they're just
so whatever
generic.
they touch, like bursts into flames and shit because they're just molten.
So yeah, so then we. Let me just say, there's a lot of talking in this issue. A lot of talking.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, Doctor Strange is like, so I don't understand, how exactly did you get here? And Ogiode is like, he's like, well, what techniques did you use? He's like, techniques? Well, I just waved my arms around and, as magic itself did the rest, I suppose. And so Doctor Strange is getting annoyed because he's like, what? Well, but what lore have you studied? What mystic tomes? It's almost like Jo Duffy is making fun of this premise about how simplistic it is, right?
About it's almost like Jo Duffy is making this shit up as she goes along.
That could be part of it.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, maybe. So then is it Ogiode? Yeah, Ogiode is like, well, he's talking about how he kind of like, they're agents of order. Like Crystar is an agent of order, he mentions. We use the goodwill of order and chaos. And so Doctor Strange is still baffled that there's no way they don't even know how they got there, and they don't know how they're gonna get back. And so then again, there's a lot of talking, and then of course Wong, since he's a manservant, brings them some tea, right?
Yeah, the third time. This time he doesn't drop it.
Yeah, right. And then Crystar is marveling at the fabric that the curtains are made out of, right? And then we get this parallel sequence where the left side of the page is Crystar and everybody, and the right side of the page is the molten creatures walking through the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they're commenting on how as they're walking, the rooms in the house seem to shift and move around, which of course is really cool. Really cool.
Mike, dig that middle gutter though between, like it's extra wide.
Right, to separate the action. But I think it's cool to show this parallel action. Like it's a nice sequence. Yeah. And then we see on the left-hand side, again, it's like all they're doing is kind of just marveling at the library. Like now the guy's sitting on the chair and he's talking about how it's made out of wood. And then as they're doing this, the molten guys are looking for them. And then just at that moment, as they leave a room, we cut over to Wong, again, carrying a tray. And he notices that there's fire on the ground, and he's trying to figure out where this fire came from. So meanwhile, we cut back, and Doctor Strange is trying to figure out how to get them back, right? Yeah. And then, what's his name? Wong comes in, and he's like, forgive the intrusion, but are anyone's feet on fire? On fire? I beg your pardon, Wong. And so then they're like, well, so then Crystar figures out what's happened. He's like, I have a brother who serves chaos. He's my mortal enemy. He and his men are made of magma. So they figure out, it must be the magma men that are leaving these, little things of fire all around the house. So then they run out of the room. They dart out of the room to go and find them so that they can tangle with them, right? Yeah. So then they're running, a lot of talking. And then finally they find some little parts of the carpet that are still on fire. Then they see a little banister that's on fire. And then sure enough, they confront the molten men in a hallway, right? And then they're like, get them. and then there's a big fight, right? There's punching, there's kicking, there's punching, there's jumping, there's punching.
Yeah, I like punching.
Yeah, this is probably your favorite part of the book, right?
Yes, easily.
Yeah, a lot of punching. And then all of a sudden, they're like, come back here and stop burning holes and everything. Then the molten men are like, retreat, regroup. And then they run into the room, but it's back into the library. And then sure enough, all the rest of the guys are waiting there. And then now they start fighting them. In fact, one of the guys does like a handstand and kicks two of the guys at the same time. And then punches two other ones at the same time, right?
Yeah, he's a badass, this guy.
Right. And so then meanwhile, they stumble. And they're... Wait. Oh, yeah.
The molten guys fall into all the books.
Right.
And Crystar's like, no, don't burn the books. Those are precious. And Doctor Strange says, hey, don't you worry. I got them their magic spells. And he, sucks up all the flames from the books and shoots it into the chimney down the hall.
Yes. And Ogiode is like, wow, remarkable. And then Doctor Strange is like, well, could you explain one thing? What is this prisma crystal that your enemies were so anxious to secure? He's like, I have it right here. And he shows it to him. And the thing about this crystal is that it's really small, but it's actually really big, but somehow he can shrink it, but it's not really shrinking it, it's just disguising its size kind of thing, And so then Doctor Strange is like, do you mean to tell me you had a major mystical power source concealed about your person the entire time we were attempting to send you home and you never saw it fit to mention it? again, when you said that she's making it up as she goes along, you're probably right.
Yes.
But and then Ogiot says, I just suppose it just slipped my mind. I suppose. Why? Was it important? Doctor Strange says, I suppose not. Anyway, okay, I'll send you back home. Waves his hands around. They disappear, and then Wong is like, farewell. And Doctor Strange says, omnipotent Oshter grant you all a safe trip home, and may he also grant that it is a one-way trip. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
The end.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
What was the point of any of this?
Okay, I can tell you the point. It was to get Doctor Strange on the cover so that 40 years later we would review it in this episode.
But besides that, just from a storytelling perspective, what was the point of this issue? Literally no point whatsoever.
This is true.
Happening. They show up in Doctor Strange's house for no reason, just complete accident. They learn nothing. They don't gain anything while they're there. Then they have a little fight. Then they get sent home. Nothing changes. Not one single thing changes. This
here's the thing.
Is a complete waste of time.
Can I just say, okay, let's just say this, I was the editor and this was submitted to me. This is what I would say. Okay. It's a good premise to start out with them in the library, number one, why don't they end up somewhere else, like in the middle of New York City, and then Doctor Strange senses a disturbance, blah, blah, blah. He has to go find them. Or they end up in the library, then they leave. But the point is fish out of water, right? Like, if you're going to have Crystar in our dimension, why don't you have him go out into New York and, like, order a hot dog and go for a swim or go to a movie, right?
That is one way to go about it, yeah. The big thing is, though, there has to be something that changes. There has to be a goal, obstacles to overcome, and then you get the goal, and then the issue ends. Nothing changes. So, like, I am an editor, Michael. That's how I make my living, editing books. So when I tell the writers, I'm like, hey, if nothing changes in a scene, cut the scene. It should not be in there. So what we do with this issue is we just cut this issue. This issue should not exist. Nothing happens.
Well, here's the thing. Assuming that they have to use this plot, there is ways to make it better. Like, for example,
they have to get something. They have to learn something from Doctor Strange. Oh, I need some little. I need to learn some magic spell to help us fight the Moltar and his friends.
Or fix the guy who's in bed injured. Maybe Doctor Strange can help with that, right?
That would work. Yep. Just anything to change something.
Right.
So yeah, this is a complete waste of time. But thanks for picking it. It was great.
Well, you know what? What I should have done is I should have read the whole series, then picked one, but I just kind of went from the covers. So
I thought you said you read the whole series.
Well, when I was a kid. I didn't remember what happened in each one.
Yeah. This is not Jo Duffy's best work.
However, the dialogue is fine. The dialogue's fine.
I guess, but they're just spinning their wheels the whole time, you know?
Yeah,
There's
that's true.
Going on, you know? So it's like, oh, okay. Like, the dialogue is not so engaging or witty that, I love reading this. It's just like, can something happen, please? Can anything happen?
It's not great.
I guess I like the premise of Crystar. I mean,
I do.
It's very hacky and, like, common. You know, the two brothers, one's good, one's evil. I mean, it's pretty standard. Nothing too unique about it. I love the fact that the kid named Crystar turns into Crystal and the one named Moltar turns into That was great.
I like it too.
What else about this that I could say? I don't know. I think, I'm grateful. I think we're finally out of toy-themed comic books for Michael to pick.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Not even close.
You pick a lot. So I'm hoping this is it. I think we're done, right?
I'm going to test that theory. We'll see.
But yeah, so Crystar, I don't know. The art's fine. I like Ron Frenz's art. It was good enough.
Yes.
You know? I'm not a huge fan of Ron Frenz, but he's clearly a very capable professional comic book artist who gets the job done, you know? So no problem with the art. Like you mentioned, the inking was strong. But man, that story was a complete waste of time. So I guess, I was going to get 4.
I'll give it a 5, only because I do enjoy the premise, and I did enjoy the art. The story was a waste, but I liked everything else about it. And I like the dialogue. So
I'm being very generous with the 4. My initial thing was a 3, but I'm like, well, I did like the art. They did a good job with the art, I guess, and I like learning new things. I like learning that trivia about Danzig. So
there you go. See, and here's the thing is, clearly I should have picked even 1 or 2 because 1 or 2 are much better than this. So clearly I picked the wrong one.
Yes.
Clearly. What do you do?
Clearly you did. All right, Michael. So that's Crystar.
That's it. One of our shortest episodes. All right.
Oh, really? I don't know. What else can we talk about Crystar?
There's not much. Again, usually we kind of go beat by beat, but sometimes entire pages with just them talking. So there's nothing to summarize.
And we can't really talk about the future of Crystar because he didn't have one. Or like his story history.
He disappeared for like decades, and then I think he appeared in one issue of like Secret Wars Battle World or some BS.
Yeah, I think he did.
Like
I did read that. He showed up in something like that, just real briefly. Yeah.
Right.
But, yeah, so that's Crystar.
So that's it, yeah.
Well, next week, Michael, thankfully, we're done with these damn toy tie-ins.
Not even close.
So next week, we're going to do Micronauts.
Oh, nice.
Issue 9 from
wow.
1979. Yes, that's right, the Micronauts, another toy-themed book. This one, I've been meaning to pick this book. We've been doing this show for like 3 years now. I remember in year 1 I almost picked Micronauts, but I kept pushing it off. And then this past week I was talking to our buddy Miles Watson, and I mentioned the Micronauts, and he loves the Micronauts.
Really?
And in fact, Michael, he says that Micronauts are way better than the Transformers.
Whoa! Them's fighting words.
I know, I told him that. You're going to be very upset about that. So hopefully you two get in a big fight next week.
Right.
But, so Miles will be joining us next week as we discuss Micronauts, issue 9 from 1979.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And I
Michael, by the way, it's written by Bill Mantlo and drawn by Michael Gold.
Yeah. Oh, I know, because I have every issue. I have the first, 12 or 13 or whatever he did. I have them all, I think. So
I almost picked an issue like, I think it's 34 or 35 where Doctor Strange guest stars in it, but I'm like, nah.
Can't do that.
No.
Right.
But Michael Golden did not draw that issue.
Right, you gotta have Michael Gold. See, this has been on my list for many, many months, so this is good. 2 birds with 1 stone. I like it. Okay, so there you go. Another episode of Flea Market Fantasy. Every week we pick a different comic from the 70s and 80s. That's the Bronze Age. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. Sometimes other people pick, and every episode is awesome. So be sure to join us for every episode. Until next Tuesday, disperse!